Wholeness, beautiful beings. Welcome to my channel, Seeds of Silver Tree. Silver Tree here. So I was in the middle of making a part two to my Patrix video, and Source literally cut it. I was deep in the talk and deep in the message, and then Source just shut my phone off. So all that was recorded is lost. But I just got done with my nature walk, and so I'm rejuvenated, and Source wanted me to slow down and to put more emphasis on something that was coming through that previous message I was going to upload. Possession. How to invoke spirits of human emotions. Okay? Now, starting off, what is possession? Now, the general public around the world, mostly I guess in the Western world, our understanding of possession or spiritual possession is when an entity, the host, agrees to a parasitic relationship with an entity. This is a very paranormal, metaphysical experience, okay, between host and parasite. And what happens with the possession, a spiritual possession, is that the entity pretty much uses and takes the life force energy of the other, of the host, and until it's to the point where the host is either completely psychotic, unable to take care of themselves, or they induce in some kind of self-harming tactic to end the torment. All right. Now, there have been documentations around the world, specifically in the arena of, the Catholicism, okay? There have been a lot of, like, Hollywood just ran with it and made it into its own genre, its own demonic thing. So basically, if anything, the general public goes off of what it's been programmed to believe when it comes to demonic possession and entities and the paranormal, okay? But today I'm going to talk about how our actual human feelings and emotions are real energies, okay? And I'm going to use the word spirit, right? We are sentient beings. We are ruled by our human emotions. We are ruled by our feelings, okay? We make a lot, even people who are void of any feeling on the outside, I call that the bottomless lake, right? There are certain personas and people and personalities that they seem cool and collected on the outside, but inside they got a lot going on, right? So what do I mean by this when I say spiritual possession, right? What do I mean? Think of the emotions, typical emotions like happiness, joy, anger, rage, envy, jealousy, boredom, what else is there? Depression, right? These are actual spirits or energies that exist in us. And it takes a lot of external stimuli sometimes to invoke these feelings, to invoke these energies. Think about when you're watching mainstream media and they all of a sudden flashes across the screen, breaking news. Breaking news, war in Israel and Palestine's taken off, or Russia just bombed this city in Ukraine, or this world leader in Iran has gone missing. It's to invoke the powerful energy spirit of worry, paranoia, in confusion, right, within our human form. And when a parasitic entity is able to possess the host through emotion, it feeds off of this negative energy to feed something, to feed an agenda. So, how to invoke? How do we invoke these energies within ourselves? Through the key is through observation, not just silent meditation. Silent meditation is very useful. But I have come to find, as a recovering empath, someone who has always been very sensitive, and empaths, we know firsthand we have to practice discernment. We have to study and master what emotions are ours and what emotions are other people's. We take on everything. We take on negative, we take on positive. We take on our parents' stuff, we take on our friends' stuff, we take on our enemies, strangers, anyone or anything that we come in contact with. We blend our energies with subconsciously. We just aren't aware of it, and it is a gift, but it can feel like a curse when you do not take the time to study and to observe. So, from personal experience, I've gotten a lot stronger with this ability, because I've worked with children all the way up to people who are centenarians, okay, and they're over 100. I've worked with people for a very long time. I've worked with the public for a very long time, up close and personal. I've worked with human beings in their most distressed, most vulnerable spaces in their lives, okay? So I've worked with people on a day-to-day basis, which has given me a very keen insight on human emotions and how we react and how we respond. So I can walk into, like, let's say a patient's room, and let's just say they're incensed about something, okay, their medication or with the doctor or something personal, but I can feel their anger. My body will respond to this, and sometimes they'll project it towards me, right? They'll projectile vomit that energy from them onto me. Now, here's the kicker. With the life experience, I am able to discern, observe, and then alchemize the situation very quickly. Sometimes it takes me a few moments. Sometimes it takes me a few days. Sometimes a few weeks. Sometimes months. The closer I am with the person, like if it's a close relationship, like a romantic relationship, it'll take me about at least a year to feel like myself again. But when things end badly, but with strangers and with the general public, where I'll see someone or work with them on days on end, and then I never see them again, I can process it in a reasonable amount of time. But when I'm dealing with somebody who, let's just say they're incensed, they are very angry, and they lash out to me, my body will respond, right? I'll get goosebumps, I'll get heat, I'll get hot, I'll feel heat from them. Sometimes I'll see color. On a rare occasion, I usually see more color with children than I do with adults. But a lot of the time I get if it's just human emotion, so not other entity attachments on their body, it's more of just my body will react viscerally. And then once that moment is done and I remove myself from the room, I'm like, okay, I'm fine. I woke up good. I'm great. I'm Gucci, right? And I'll sit, give myself a few moments to just kind of process what happened. And I tell myself, this is not yours. Return to sender. I return this energy back to the person. This is not mine. I release this back to source. I have my own ways of alchemizing it, but it's taken me decades to do this, because growing up, I was in a very intense environment. Both my parents have very intense personalities, and I was always hypersensitive. I would cry. My mom has always thought that I never cried, and I'm never emotional, and that is so far from the truth. I just don't think she was able to see or to notice my sensitivities growing up, but I'm an incredibly sensitive person. almost to the point where I find sometimes I have to not numb myself, if and I don't watch horror flicks or anything like that, but back onto the emotion. Sometimes I walk into a patient's room and there's immense sadness or anxiety, okay? And I have to, and if you, and the tricky part is, the more you're connected with someone, like a relative or family member or friend, and they're going through an episode of anger, sadness, or anxiety, you have to practice strong boundaries, energy boundaries, to not get sucked into their energy vortex, because it can get pretty crazy, right? So through discernment, observation, and then alchemizing are ways to process these energies, okay? The spirit of emotions. Okay, so next, how to invoke, right? What else should I say here? Okay, I feel like I'm being called to go deeper into it. This is no easy feat. If you think about, like, let's say a romantic relationship and you get into an argument with someone, right? And here's the thing, the reason why I say it's even harder to discern, observe, and alchemize, energy, emotional spirits, is because you develop energy cords. You have energy cords with your family, you have energy cords with your lovers. And lovers are very, very, if anything, their energy cords are very thick and very powerful, right? You become yoked into the other, and they're yoked into you. So with that, there are increased expectations that you have set for that person, and when they're not met, that's when arguments tend to take place, right? And so you're both enraged, you're both upset or hurt or crying, and it's usually at that point where you have to step back and say, wait, hold on a minute, what's happening here? What emotions are being invoked right now? Why do I feel like I'm out of control? Because it's so easy when you love somebody, you're going to bump heads with them. And so we get overwhelmed. Our emotions can be overwhelming, and we get caught up in the moment, and we say things we don't mean, right? And that's because of that possession of that emotion. Sometimes people who are in the deepest, darkest spots of the depression or cycles of depression, they'll end up taking their own life, right? Because they're so consumed by the suffering of their depression. They feel so weighed down by this emotion that they feel stuck, and they feel like the only way to liberate themselves is through ending it all, right? So let's see, what else can I say about spirit energies of emotions or emotional spirits. One of the best ways to connect to yourself and to is just being present. When you are caught off guard emotionally, you have to ask yourself, okay, what emotion is being invoked and why? What emotion is being invoked if I'm listening to this podcast? What emotion is being invoked when I am watching this film? What emotion is being invoked when I'm taking part in this conversation? What emotion is being invoked when I am, connecting with this person? Being present is key. Being present really will put you in a place and put you in the upper hand. We can never rid of our human emotions. And that's one little tricky spot on the path of consciousness and spirituality and new agey BS, is that we have to transcend beyond what is human. If we weren't meant to be human, we would be a tree. If we weren't meant to be human, we'd be a rock, or we'd be some material thing, or some an animal, an insect. If we weren't meant to be what we are at this moment, we wouldn't be. But guess what? We are. And so we cannot deny this. I remember being a child having the hardest time being human. I felt so otherworldly and so detached from this place. It was unbelievable. I'm like, what did I? It was almost like I went to sleep from I lost consciousness in heaven somewhere, some other world, and then woke up here confused, and I have spiritual amnesia. That's what it felt like as a child. And so through my human years of growth and evolution and learning and expanding and teaching and observing and just, alchemizing and healing and processing all that, I've now understood that, I'm supposed to allow myself to experience the human without getting possessed by the experience. When we over-identify with our emotions, we become obsessed by them. We become possessed by them. That's how real entity attachments happen. When you are not checking in with yourself emotionally and your emotions are possessing you, whether that's you're in the spirit of lust, you're in the spirit of passion, you're in the spirit of jealousy, you're in the spirit of rage or anger or sadness or depression. Entities, I believe this, you don't have to, but real entity possession takes place because they need certain frequencies to feed from the host. You have to be at a certain frequency and vibration for external entities to feed off of your life force energy. A lot of people believe that, narcissists, they just suck all my energy. Imagine the type of entities that are hooked into them and taking from you through that narcissist. Becoming present and observing your emotions will keep you stable. For those of you who struggle with emotional disorders or mental disorders, mental illness, get all the help that you can. Whether you have to take your psychiatric drugs, antipsychotics, do what you got to do. I've worked with schizophrenics, bipolar, BDP, borderline personality disorder, BPD, bipolar type 2, type 1, the whole shebang. The whole shebang. So, I say this with love. Being the ultimate observer of your emotions. I will say, I'm going to end the video with this. Emotions an emotion is energy in motion. The only constant thing is change. That's the only thing you can rely on in life is change. We age, right? We grow from a baby to a child to adolescence to an adult to an elder. Our hair changes color, our skin sags, we metamorphosize through our life, right? It's cyclical, it's feminine, it is the womb of all creation. The only thing that is constant is change. Allow your emotions to change. What you truly believe will change. It will either become limited or it will expand or it will be consistent, but it will move and it will shift. How you feel today, you may not feel the same way tomorrow or 5 years from now or a decade from now. Be aware of what's trying to feed off of your energy and why. I will never own a television. A television will never reside in my home. As long as I breathe. I can only stand a laptop and this and my phone, and that's bad enough. But it's serving a purpose, is it not? Learn to invoke frequencies like happiness, joy, bliss, forgiveness, gratitude. You can start by invoking. This is what you could say at the beginning of your invocation. How does it feel to feel grateful? How does it feel to feel forgiveness? How does it feel to feel joy? How does it feel to feel happiness? How does it feel to feel whole and complete? When it comes to the lower, frequencies, you have to feel them. I'm so sorry. We numb ourselves. We drink the alcohol. We take the pills. We sniff up and snort stuff. We try to screw the pain away by sleeping with multiple partners. We do all kinds of things. Sometimes we even go down the whole I'm going to become a monk or nun to avoid being human. Being human is to feel. This is a daily practice that needs to be done on a daily basis throughout your entire day. Checking in with yourself emotionally. I don't agree with this. She's well known now, but she's kind of controversial. I'm not subscribed to her, but I remember once several years ago, and I never will forget it, and I use it to this day. She says, how do you tune into your internal compass, your internal emotional compass? What would someone who loves herself do? The first response, you go ahead, you run with it. That's what I do. And I've never felt wrong about that. What would someone who loves herself do? What would someone who loves himself do? I hope that helps. Let me know what you think. There will be a part 2 to the Patrix videos. So be on the lookout. Thank you so much. May this message find you well and whole. Thank you.